everybody, and welcome again to IELTS Learning Tips and another video in this series of suggestions, advice and tips on how you can improve your IELTS, and particularly for Band 7 and 8. My name's Bernie Wall. I am an IELTS trainer stroke coach, and I've been working with IELTS students for over 20 years at Band 7 and 8 and helping many students to get their 7 and 8 and sometimes all 7s or a mixture of 7 and 8s to get to whatever it is they want to move to and start their new life for them. And today I want to again talk about writing, because writing, I see from the messages here and in Facebook group, writing is becoming quite a big thing. And a lot of people are finding that they are not getting through the writing, even though their other scores such as listening and reading can be getting as high as 8 and even 9 in some cases, but the writing is still lagging behind. And so I think quite often it's due to not approaching it in the right way, and sometimes it's due to really not understanding and knowing what's going on with writing. So before we just jump into the points that I want to make, I just want to remind you that at the end of this video there's a link to my website, IELTSlearningtips.com, and also to my free resources. There are a few free resources there. If you want more, you can find things in my Facebook group, IELTS Band 7 and 8 Success Tips and Strategies, and you can find me on Facebook and ask to join my group, and there are more things there to help you with your IELTS. So let's move on and look at the things that keep people stuck in writing and stuck in IELTS, frankly. Because if you're one of these people, and there are many around at the moment who are looking for Band 8 in listening and 3 7s in the other parts, then if the writing doesn't hit 7, you're not going to get the score that's required. If you're a doctor or another medical professional and you want to move certainly to the UK, you have to have a minimum of 7. Quite a lot of university courses do also require a high score in writing, which is understandable, because if you're studying at university, you will need to write. It is part of the process. And quite often, courses without any kind of writing on them are not seen as academic enough. So there will be some sort of writing that you have to do. And if you don't get Band 7 in writing, then you're not going to have the right level to complete that as part of your university course. So writing is becoming really quite critical in IELTS at the moment. So what's keeping people stuck? Okay, a lot of people do get stuck at Band 6 or 7.5, and if you saw my last video, I did say that there are lots and lots of experts, IELTS experts at Band 6.5. One of the reasons is because the language is not developed enough to move that big jump, and it is a big jump. You may think it's only 0.5, but that 0.5 is quite a significant jump from 6.5 to 7. So it's quite possible that your language is not developed enough. You don't have enough vocabulary, you don't have enough variety in your sentence structure, you don't have enough flexibility with the use of language, or enough different linking words and cohesive devices. That's a possibility. And the fact that it will take longer than listening and speaking. Then reading, this is the order in which we learn things in language development as a baby and then a child. And writing comes much later. Usually when we're about 7, you start to write, and the writing you need for Band 7 is going to be the kind of writing that people are doing at the end of high school or the beginning of university. You have to be patient, you have to work at it, and you have to work at the small bits that make it up. So work on your sentence structure, work on your grammar, work on your vocabulary. You can't just keep churning out the same thing. If you've been getting band 6.5 for a period of time, if you've taken the exam maybe 4 or 5 times and you've got 6.5, stop, think, and change. Okay, you need to really push your vocabulary. And I'm not talking about topic vocabulary here. I'm talking about general writing vocabulary and different devices. You need to push your structure. You need to start writing in a more sophisticated way. You need to address certain grammar things. I've mentioned before things like conditionals, things like passive voice. These need to be developed because they have to be incorporated. Get hold of an advanced course book in English that will show you some of the grammar structures that you might need. Okay, you've got to develop your style. If you look at the models, a lot of people say to me, oh, the models are very simple. No, they are not. They're not simple. They come across as being simple because they are good writing, and good writing should never be difficult or complicated to read. But it is very sophisticated. Okay, so you can hardly afford to make any mistakes if you want 7 and 8. It's all about the number of error-free sentences. And an error can be anything. It's also about understanding the question and making sure that you answer the question effectively, that if they ask you to agree or disagree, you agree and you disagree. You don't give them a discussion. If you have problems and solutions, you need to have solutions that address the problem. It needs to be logical. So you have to be very accurate. Okay, it needs to be in the right style. If you're doing general training, there's a big problem I find with letters, with informal letters, where students are trying to show vocabulary, yet the vocabulary is formal vocabulary. When you're doing an informal letter, you are actually talking in writing to a friend or a family member. Think about, would I say that to my sister or brother? Would I say that to my friend? Because if you wouldn't, then it shouldn't be in there. Okay, we talked about this. We talked about this. And this has to be really good. You cannot afford to make mistakes. And I find a lot of people make silly mistakes in punctuation. I've seen a lot of really bizarre errors in punctuation. So if you're not sure about using commas, then check it out. There are lots of excellent resources online where you can check this. So one of the best places to get advice on things like punctuation and writing is on some of the university sites. They often, not all of them, but some of them will give you some information on how to write well at that kind of academic level. Okay, all of these things are key. Now, if you go through that list and there are things there that you're not sure about, then you're not going to get band 7 or 8. So you need to address them. So if you're not sure about cohesion, go and find out what it means and how you can improve it. If you're not sure about punctuation, go and check it out. If you don't feel you have a wide range of vocabulary, go and look at the models. There are lots of models in the Cambridge books. Go and look at them and underline every word that you don't know, every sentence structure that you've never tried to use. And that's a good way of building up your range. Okay. You need to be ready for any topic. Doesn't matter what it is, you don't get a choice. And you need to be able to answer every type of question, whether it's agree, disagree, how far do you agree, discussion, opinion, problem solution, advantage, disadvantages, etc. Task 1, 2, don't leave process. Don't leave maps. Don't forget about informal letters in general training. All of these have to be at your fingertips in the exam. Okay, You need to know how to brainstorm the question, how to make a good plan that's going to serve you, not just some scribbles at the top of the page. You need to know how to write it within the time and to find time to check so that you don't send silly errors to the examiner. And you've got to do it all in 60 minutes. So firstly, if you're not at band 7, don't try and do it in 60 minutes. Take as much time as you need to try and get that band 7 out so that you know what it takes, what you need. And you won't be able to jump from 6.5 to band 7 if you restrict yourself every time to the 40 minutes for task 2 and 20 minutes for task 1. You will need longer when you first try to move away from 6.5 to 7. So allow yourself longer so that you can really come up with something special. And then once you can do that regularly, then you'll be able to reduce the time. Okay, so no pressure. Okay, this is why people get stuck. You can't do all the things I've mentioned. You think about the question and ideas and you don't think about the language, which is a big mistake because IELTS is a language exam. You write lots and lots of tasks, but you never get any of them checked. You are reinforcing errors every time. And then trying to get rid of those errors when you've been writing them for a long time is a massive task. Believe you me, I've done it for years and years and years, and it is not easy. And you don't know what's stopping you. If you keep getting 6.5 and you keep taking the test again and again and you still get 6.5, you have to find out why you're getting 6.5. Unless you do, you will just keep getting 6.5. I saw an article by somebody, I can't remember where it was, but it was somebody who had taken the exam over 20 times and they got 6.5 in just about all of those exams. And they were blaming the exam. Okay, it's not the exam, it can't be the exam. There's something fundamentally wrong with the writing. And I suggest that they probably either never got it checked or maybe just got 1 or 2 checked. You can't just get 1 essay checked and hope it will be all right. It's a long process, and that process needs you to have it checked all the time so that the writing develops. And that's why working with a teacher is so important for your writing if you need 7. With my students, we work for, some students work for a month, some students work for 3 months. And every task, I correct it, I give them advice. Then we meet and we go through it. And then they do the next one. And then we go through that. And it takes quite a long time before they get to the stage where there are no mistakes and where it's all coming together really well. It's a long process. And if you don't know what to fix, how can you fix it? Okay, so absolutely crucial. Even if you do only get 1 person to check it, it might help with some things, but it may not help you to improve to 7 straight away. Don't use your listening and reading scores as a guide. A lot of people say, I'm getting band 8 in my listening, I'm getting 7.5 in my reading, so I think I'll be fine in your writing. No, there is no correlation between those scores and your writing score. These are the things, the nuts and bolts that will help you to get better writing, as well as really understanding questions. And do be realistic. If you got 6.5 last week, it's going to take you a lot longer than 2 weeks to improve that. It might even take you longer than a month, depending on what the problems are. Okay, so I know that was a bit of a rant, but I just feel so strongly that people are not giving themselves the best chance and they're jumping straight back into the exam without addressing this really critical part of the test. So I hope it's kind of giving you food for thought, and do go back over those points and make sure that you do them every time you practice writing. Okay, so I'll see you on the next video. Bye.